Okay, hello economics students. In this video we are looking at externalities. It's our third market failure, and we're going to move away from thinking about excludability and depletability as the characteristics that define this particular market failure. So they help us with public goods and common access resources, but we're going to use a different framework to understand externalities. So a quick definition before we do some thinking. Firstly, externalities can be both positive and negative. So there's two types of externalities, and they're when a transaction, so it could be an externality on consumption or production, but whenever there is this type of activity, consumption or production, it's when there is a cost or a benefit imposed on a third party, somebody or a group of people who are not involved in the original consumption or production. Okay, so that word impose is important because externalities happen without the third party being involved at all. Okay, whether they like it or not, this externality will be imposed upon them. They'll be affected by this particular externality in a good way or in a bad way. So in a good way, we call positive externalities, and they impose benefits over here on third parties. And negative externalities are in a bad way, and they impose a cost on third parties. Okay, costs and benefits can be broad. They could be health or social costs or financial costs, but it will make more sense when we look at an example. Okay, so let me show you what this looks like in the real world. So let's start with a little thinking activity. So I think about 90% of eligible people in Australia ended up getting vaccinated against COVID-19, but would that be the same if they had to pay with their wages, with their hard-earned money for the vaccination? Probably not. Have a think about how many you think might have actually got vaccinated. So we'll come back to that, and I'll clarify what I'm getting at here. So positive externalities, it will impose a benefit on third parties. And remember, they're not involved in the transaction. So when somebody gets vaccinated, they are benefiting both themselves because they won't get sick, but also other people around them. So via herd immunity, maybe if they don't get sick, then somebody in their family doesn't get sick, and then they won't spread that onto someone else. And so the disease may not spread as much. So we say positive externalities exhibit the characteristics that social benefits here, the benefits to everyone else that is not the individual that consumed the vaccination, the social benefits, anyone else in society, maybe their family or their neighbours or their colleagues, are greater than the private benefits. So the benefits to that particular individual of not getting sick, not feeling as sick as they would if they got the virus. Okay, so social benefits are greater than private benefits. Now, there's a problem here. Remember, we're thinking about a free market where there's no intervention, no free vaccination, no rules about who needs to get vaccinated. And the problem is that individuals do not take into consideration the social benefits when they make the decision to consume anything, but in this case, to get vaccinated. Okay, they don't account them enough. They may think about their family, but they may not think about their colleagues or whatever. So the market without government intervention would actually not produce or not allocate enough resources to the vaccination. There would be an under-allocation of resources. Or in simple terms, not enough people would get vaccinated. Allocative efficiency would not be achieved. So down here we'd say, as the social benefits are not taken into consideration, even though they're real, the individual will not take into consideration the social benefits, and therefore externalities are underproduced. And that's a really key term there, underproduced or underallocated. It means the same thing. So let's look at a couple of other examples. So Monash University or any education school or TAFE, the private benefit is the job, the status, the money, the personal satisfaction. But when you make a decision to get educated or to do further education, you're not taking into account the social benefit of being an educated economics student to make the world a better place, or to become a doctor or something and save lives. You're not taking into consideration that social benefit enough. Okay, but the social benefits are real, like we said, and the free market, without any free school or rules around schools, or free TAFE, or cheap university, the free market, without any of these interventions, would result in not enough people getting educated. Again, an inefficient allocation of resources. Allocative efficiency would not be achieved. Okay, so you got the vaccination here, you got masks. There are hundreds There are hundreds of examples which I encourage you to think of. Now, I said before that it can be on consumption, like consuming a vaccination or consuming education, but there can also be some externalities on the production of something. So if you produce something or you create some new technology, there's benefit to other producers. Okay, so we can think about production as well. Now, of course, you live in the real world, and most of you already understand how vaccinations were paid for by the government, or I just said it before. And we're skipping forward here to the next dot point of government intervention, but I want you to think about how do we, or how could we, correct this problem of positive externalities being under-allocated? How can we make the market consider the social benefits, okay, not just the private? Have a think about that, and in the next video we'll do negative externalities. Bye for now.